pay your taxes, mind your business, and keep Will Smith's wife's name out your mouth!
Two of Hollywood's most untouchable comedy legends never planned to team up, but one jaw-dropping night forced their voices into the same conversation. After Will Smith's shocking Oscars moment stunned the entire world, Jim Carrey and Eddie Murphy separately broke their silence. And when you put their words together, they painted a brutal picture of Hollywood's double standards. This wasn't just about a slap. It was about power, protection, and who the industry rushes to defend when the cameras are rolling. So why did these two icons speak out when they did? And why did their comments hit harder than anyone expected? Let's break down exactly what they revealed. Jim Carrey's blistering critique started with what should have been Will Smith's crowning night. The 94th Academy Awards were set up as his victory lap. After decades of blockbuster dominance, Will was the clear favorite to win Best Actor for his role as Richard Williams in King Richard.
Got future doctors and lawyers, plus a couple tennis stars in this house. Now, I understand you got...
At that moment, the $9 billion box office titan was at the absolute peak of his powers, adored by audiences, respected by peers. Then Chris Rock cracked a joke comparing Jada Pinkett Smith to G.I. Jane because of her shaved head, and something inside Will snapped. What followed was caught from multiple angles and broadcast to more than 15 million viewers. Will calmly walked onto the stage, slapped Chris Rock, returned to his seat. "Oh, wow, wow," and then screamed profanities at the comedian. The room froze. Some people thought it was staged. Others couldn't believe what they'd just seen. But the most revealing moment came later, when Will won Best Actor and received a standing ovation from much of the audience. Hollywood had just watched one of its biggest stars commit assault on live television and rewarded him with applause. That standing ovation became ground zero for criticism from two men who understand Hollywood better than most, Jim Carrey and Eddie Murphy. Their reactions weren't just about one incident. They were about the entire system behind. 3 days after the Oscars, Jim Carrey appeared on CBS Mornings and delivered one of the sharpest takedowns to come out of the fallout. His anger wasn't aimed only at Will Smith. It was aimed at an industry he believed instantly closed ranks to protect one of its own. Jim said he was deeply disturbed by the standing ovation, calling it proof that Hollywood had lost its spine. To him, that applause marked the moment the industry forfeited any claim to moral authority or cultural leadership. Jim didn't stop there. He went further, laying out how he believed the situation should have been handled, making it clear his stance was about principle, not celebrity etiquette. He said if he'd been Chris Rock, he would have announced the very next morning that he was suing Will Smith for $200 million. The footage, Jim explained, would live forever, permanently tied to Rock's image. In his view, the damage from that moment would linger for years. He also made one thing crystal clear: people are free to boo, criticize, or complain, but no one has the right to walk on stage and physically attack someone over words. Then Jim went deeper. Drawing from his own spiritual journey and long disillusionment with fame, he offered a theory about what really drove Will's behavior. According to Jim, Will had spent 30 years building an avatar, a carefully manufactured public identity. This wasn't the real Will Smith. This was a polished product. The family man, the protector, the universally beloved star who only made uplifting movies. When Rock joked about Jada, Jim argued it wasn't just an insult. It was an attack on the avatar, the image that needed constant defense. That insight carried extra weight coming from Jim, who has openly discussed dismantling his own celebrity persona. In a viral 2017 interview, he famously said, "As an actor, you play characters, and if you go deep enough, you realize your own character is pretty thin, Wayne." Eventually, he said, you separate and ask, "Who's Jim Carrey?" And the answer is, he doesn't exist. Through that lens, Jim saw Will as a man trapped inside an image. When that image was threatened, he lashed out, not to defend his wife, but to defend the illusion he'd spent decades protecting. If Jim Carrey delivered the philosophical indictment of Hollywood, Eddie Murphy brought the blunt reality check. And Eddie Murphy hates award shows. He's said it over and over, calling them fake and describing the vibe as a room full of famous people desperate for trophies. So when Edie accepted the Cecil B. DeMille Award at the 2023 Golden Globes, his first major awards appearance in years, people listened. His speech was short, funny, and classic Eddie. But near the end, he dropped a line that instantly went viral. "Pay your taxes, mind your business, and keep Will Smith's wife's name out your mouth." The crowd erupted in nervous laughter. Backstage, Eddie clarified it came from a place of love. He respected everyone involved. Still, the message was unmistakable. What Will did was wrong, and Eddie wasn't afraid to say it on one of Hollywood's biggest stages. That moment hit harder when you understand Eddie's history with the industry. Unlike Will, who spent years chasing approval, Eddie built his career by being unapologetically himself, even when it cost him. At the 2007 Oscars, when he lost Best Supporting Actor for Dreamgirls, reports claimed he stormed out in anger.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank the Hollywood Foreign Press for honoring what I did in Dreamgirls, and thank you.
Nearly 2 decades later, Eddie finally explained what really happened. He said people kept coming up, patting his shoulder, offering sympathy. Even Clint Eastwood rubbed his shoulder. Eddie decided he wasn't going to play that role all night. The gracious loser soaking in consolation. So he left. Not out of anger, but refusal to perform. That same principle applied to Will. Stop performing, stop protecting the image, face the consequences. In his Netflix documentary, Eddie revealed he believes the Academy quietly shut him out after his blunt 1988 Oscars speech questioning how black talent was recognized. He warned Robin Williams beforehand. Williams asked, "Oh, why go there?" Eddie went there anyway and believes he never received another nomination because of it. That willingness to sacrifice awards for honesty is what makes Eddie's criticism so powerful. He's lived the consequences of telling uncomfortable truths and still chose to speak up. So what happened to Will Smith after the applause faded, career in freefall? The immediate fallout came fast. On April 1, 2022, Will resigned from the Academy. A week later, he was banned from all Academy events for 10 years. But the real damage wasn't official, it was professional. Before the slap, Emancipation was positioned as Will's next awards vehicle.
Smith appeared on The Daily Show with Trevor Noah to promote his film Emancipation, his first move since the Oscars fiasco.
Apple paid $120 million for the Antoine Fuqua-directed film and will earn $35 million. Awards buzz was expected. Instead, the movie was quietly released in December 2022 with almost no promotion. Critics were lukewarm. Audiences barely showed up. Awards season completely shut him out. IndieWire's David Ayerlake noted that Emancipation was built for Oscars, and the slap became an existential threat to any film dependent on awards momentum. The deeper shift showed up in numbers. Will's Q score, a key Hollywood metric for popularity, was a sky-high 39 before the incident. By August 2022, it dropped to 24. By early 2024, it had fallen to just 19. Once one of the most beloved stars alive, Will suddenly ranked near the bottom among major actors. Behind the scenes, projects stalled. Netflix paused Fast and Loose just 1 month after greenlighting it. A studio executive told Variety, "Everyone was waiting to see who would blink first. It's not just what he did, it's what he did after." And that phrase says it all. Will stayed. He accepted the Oscar. He gave an emotional speech. And he never apologized to Chris Rock on that stage. And then, almost unbelievably, he went on to dance at the Vanity Fair after party. Music industry insiders later said that if Will had been immediately removed from the ceremony, the moment might have been easier to forgive. Instead, his actions sent a different message, that he felt entitled to keep celebrating music despite what had just happened. As if the professional fallout wasn't brutal enough, Will's personal life soon became public fodder in a way it never had before. In October 2023, Jada Pinkett Smith began promoting her memoir Worthy and dropped a bombshell that shocked music a lot of people. She revealed that she and Will had actually been separated since 2016. That meant the infamous 2020 Red Table Talk, where Jada discussed her entanglement with August Alsina, happened when they weren't even together. despite the united front they presented on camera. It also meant that when Will walked onto the Oscar stage to defend Jada, he was defending someone who hadn't been his wife in any traditional sense for 6 years. Jada told the Today Show in October 2023, "I was as confused as everybody else. It was so out of character, and I was at a loss. I didn't know what was happening, so I just had to ground myself and pay attention." Public perception of Will shifted overnight. He wasn't just the guy who slapped Chris Rock anymore. He became the man accused of performing a marriage for cameras, selling an image, and building his brand on half-truths. Suddenly, every tearful moment, every red table talk, every carefully curated family photo felt staged, if not manipulative. After all that damage, the question became unavoidable. Could Will Smith ever make a real comeback, and if so, what would it take? The attempted comeback by early 2024, Will desperately needed a win. His career was stuck in limbo, his reputation battered, and the industry was keeping him at arm's length. That's when Bad Boys, Ride or Die entered the picture, the fourth installment of a franchise that had been winning audiences over since 1995. The timing wasn't accidental. Bad Boys was Will's safest bet, the one franchise loaded with decades of goodwill. If anything could pull him back from exile, it was this. Sony backed the film with a $100 million production budget and released it on June 7, 2024. The results? Complicated. Bad Boys, Ride or Die opened with $56 million domestically and $14.06 million internationally. For comparison, Bad Boys for Life opened at $62 million domestically in 2020 and went on to earn $426 million worldwide. So yes, the opening was slightly softer, but still strong enough to be labeled a success, especially considering Will's damaged image. The film landed a $56 million domestic opening, roughly $45 million worldwide, and in a cinema score. Analysts pointed to several reasons it held up. First, Martin Lawrence provided cover. Fans could tell themselves they were supporting both stars, not just Will. Second, the franchise carried 30 years of built-in loyalty. Third, the marketing smartly sold it as pure summer escapism, not a redemption tour. Paul Dergarabedian, senior media analyst at Comscore, said the overperformance was of the best possible news, adding that it reignited the spark the industry had been waiting for. But here's what the box office numbers didn't show. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Will's agents at Kia had been quietly calling studio executives in the weeks leading up to the release, something they hadn't done since The Slap, to test the waters for new projects. The plan was simple. If Ride or Die hit, announce Will's next move immediately. That announcement never came. Despite the film's success, no major studio rushed to sign Will for a new prestige project or original film. The silence spoke volumes. Hollywood was fine letting Sony take a calculated risk with a proven franchise, but nobody wanted to be first in line to bet on Will Smith's solo. Bad Boys, Ride or Die worked because it was a sequel with a loyal audience already locked in. The real question Hollywood is asking isn't whether Will can still carry a franchise, it's whether he can open an original movie as a leading man. That question remains unanswered. Interestingly, the film didn't completely ignore the elephant in the room. Multiple reports suggest it included subtle nods to Will's real-life scandal. In one scene, Mike Lowry faces criticism and consequences for his actions, with dialogue that felt deliberately mirrored to Will's own situation. It was a calculated risk. By indirectly acknowledging the controversy, the filmmakers gave audiences permission to separate the character from the actor. The message was clear. We know what happened. He knows what happened. Can we move on now? Whether audiences fully bought that is still up for debate. A 97% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes suggests many were willing to forgive, or at least compartmentalize. But the lower box office compared to Bad Boys for Life also hints that some fans quietly walked away. So where does that leave Will Smith now? Is he truly forgiven? Or just on probation? What Jim and Edie really exposed Jim Carrey and Eddie Murphy weren't just reacting to one slap. They were exposing something far bigger. A system that protects powerful people as long as they're profitable, and discards them the second they're not. For 30 years, Will Smith enjoyed a level of protection few celebrities ever get. Stories that would have destroyed lesser careers, rumors about his marriage, his behavior, even his sexuality, were buried or spun into harmless narratives. Janet Hubert's experience on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air says it all. After a contract dispute with Will in the early 90s, she was labeled a difficult and effectively sidelined for years. Will's camp controlled the story, and the industry went along with it because Will was valuable. This is what Jim meant when he called Hollywood spineless. The standing ovation wasn't support, it was risk management. When someone has generated $9 billion at the box office, accountability becomes optional. Crisis control becomes the priority. Both Jim and Eddie have highlighted Hollywood's selective morality. Lesser-known actors get erased for far less. A-listers get multiple redemption arcs. An unknown actor who commits assault on live TV would be arrested, prosecuted, and unemployable. Will Smith did it, got a 10-year Academy ban, and starred in a summer blockbuster 2 years later. The difference? Box office value. Eddie's own history makes his criticism sting even more. After his blunt 1988 Oscar speech about black representation, he believes he was quietly blacklisted. He spoke the truth, paid the price, and watched the industry send a message. Don't rock the boat. Will's real mistake wasn't the slap. It was doing it where the industry couldn't hide it. If it had happened at a private party, it would have been smoothed over and buried. Business would have gone on as usual. Jim Carrey's critique cuts even deeper. His avatar theory goes straight to the heart of fame and identity. For years, Jim has talked about how his own celebrity persona became a prison. He once said, "Your body needs to be depressed. It needs deep rest from the character you've been trying to play." That's how he saw Will, a man so invested in his public image that he lost touch with who he really was. The perfect husband, the protector, the untouchable star. When a joke threatened that persona, he snapped, because without it, he didn't know who he was. Eddie Murphy's advice is simpler. Stop performing, live honestly. His Golden Globes line, "Pay your taxes, mind your business, and keep Will Smith's wife's name out your mouth," wasn't just a punchline, it was a blueprint. Pay your taxes, handle your responsibilities. Mind your business, stop chasing unnecessary drama. Keep her name out your mouth. Learn the lesson. At its core, Eddie was telling Will to stop living a scripted life. The urge to defend Jada came from an identity built on being her protector. Without that performance, the moment might have played out very differently. So how did Chris Rock process it all? And does he hold any resentment toward Will Smith? Final, unavoidable music elephant in the room. Chris Rock would finally speak nearly a year later, breaking his silence on the moment that stunned the world.
"Chris, I apologize to you. My behavior..."
Months after the Oscar slap, Chris Rock joked about moving on, but it wasn't until his Netflix special Selective Outrage that he fully unpacked the moment that shook Hollywood. Performing live at Baltimore's Hippodrome Theater, Rock was candid, tired, and unflinching. "Everybody knows what happened," he said bluntly. "I got slapped a year ago. People ask if it hurts. It still hurts. I've got summertime ringing in my ears." Though he never pressed charges and avoided discussing the incident for months, Selective Outrage became the stage where Rock finally processed it publicly. He made it clear he wasn't a victim. "You will never see me crying on Oprah." "That's not happening," he quipped, while still acknowledging the physical and emotional impact, comparing himself to Manny Pacquiao for taking the hit and moving forward. Rock also shut down rumors of a mutual fight, highlighting the obvious size difference between himself and Will, and joking about how his own roles rarely involve shirtless scenes. The title of his special, he revealed, was inspired by Will's actions, misdirected anger fueled by personal issues, not the joke. Referencing Jada Pinkett Smith's widely publicized entanglement, Rock argued the humiliation Will felt ran deeper than the slap. He even tried reaching out afterward to offer condolences, but claims Will never return the call. Despite the sharp humor, Rock expressed genuine disappointment. He admitted admiration for Will, from his early hip-hop days through blockbuster fame, making the incident sting even more. He credited his restraint on Oscar night to upbringing and decorum, closing his set with a punchline about refusing to fight on stage, dropping the mic to thunderous applause. Will has since issued multiple apologies on Instagram and in interviews, acknowledging he was out of line and that Rock may not be ready to discuss it. Yet Rock remains firm. On later stand-up appearances, including shows with Kevin Hart, he stressed, "Words are not violence." "Anyone who says words hurt has never been punched in the face," he joked, returning to work the very next day. Selective outrage wasn't about revenge. It was Rock reclaiming his voice and reminding the world why honest, uncomfortable comedy still matters. Meanwhile, Will Smith's position remains precarious. As of January 2026, he's not canceled, but he's far from untouchable. Bad Boys, Ride or Die proved he still draws audiences under the right conditions. But the $9 billion box office titan, who once opened any movie, is now a liability studios approach cautiously. Jim Carrey and Eddie Murphy's critiques are crucial because they come from authority and experience, legends who walked away from Hollywood at times, knowing the corruption it breeds. The Oscars slap fundamentally altered Will's image. His flawless public persona shattered live on TV. Hollywood's standing ovation exposed how the system shields profitable stars. Jim and Eddie called it out, forcing a public reckoning. Even with Bad Boys, the muted enthusiasm and industry hesitation show forgiveness is conditional. Will can work, but he isn't celebrated. His team once controlled the narrative, but another scandal looms. Recently, a lawsuit filed in Los Angeles by violinist Brian King Joseph alleges retaliation, sexual harassment, and wrongful termination during Will's 2025 tour. Joseph claims he was fired after reporting an alleged intrusion into his hotel room, describing items left behind, including a handwritten note implying a private encounter and fears for his safety. He reached out to hotel security, police, and Will's tour management, but alleges his concerns were dismissed and he was abruptly terminated, replaced by another musician. Joseph claims Will was involved in the firing and that he had been groomed and psychologically primed for further exploitation. The suit claims Joseph suffered severe emotional distress, PTSD-like symptoms, and financial losses. Will's legal team strongly denies all allegations, calling them false and reckless, promising to defend him fully. Joseph also posted a cryptic Instagram video referencing the situation without naming Will. He expressed pride at being hired on the tour but confirmed serious issues arose he couldn't discuss due to ongoing litigation. Will Smith continues to reject the accusations, vowing to pursue every legal avenue to prove the truth. The ultimate question lingers: is redemption even possible for Will Smith? Or will the Oscars slap forever define his Hollywood legacy? Can time alone erase a moment witnessed by millions on the world's biggest stage? Will the repercussions of one impulsive act continue to ripple through his career? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Click the next video on your screen. You won't want to miss it.